Honestly, I'd be worried. I see it. Like a doctor. Don't bend over. Annie had a good week. I've seen it before.
Why is there an Amity here?
He smells like garbage.
She smells like a corpse, man.
Oh, look at her. She looks like a corpse, you know.
Yeah, here we go. Woo!
Lycans, show them your call. Alpha. Luna. Assert your dominance. Lycans. Let's go.
Morning, you know. Oh, I know. Come meet the family. They're going to take great care of you, okay? Have fun now. Take care of her.
What brings you here today?
To have fun.
Have fun. You're going to have a lot of fun with my family, I assure you. Thank you for coming.
No worries. That's what I thought, Red Cook. Get out of my face. This is your final warning, boy.
I'm trying to get a portrait mode, but it can't unless I get close.
She thinks Dracula is a smooth fine. Says vampire is a long time. She tells me I'm just not her kind. I guess the one for her is Frankenstein.
They go to Joseph.
Oh. He's behind us. I know he's behind us. He's behind us. Get out my face right now, they'll miss me! Alright guys, so it's been quite some time since I've filmed, obviously due to the pregnancy and everything. It was a bit of a whirlwind towards the end. So the first part of this video is going to be me filming the different scare zones at Thorpe Park. We've only done the one visit this year, obviously because of the whole COVID situation, and now we've got a newborn baby as well, so it's been a bit difficult trying to arrange to go there. So we did the one visit. Unfortunately the mazes were of an extra cost, so we didn't do them this year. But yeah, you'll see some footage of the different scare zones. I couldn't get too much footage because towards the end it started hammering it down with rain, so filming towards the end was a bit limited. And unfortunately I did film the Amity High actors and their dancing routine. I did get a closer view whilst kneeling on the floor, but for some reason the footage didn't come out. I don't really know why, but I've put together everything that I had on my camera, so there was a little sneak peek of the different scare zones that we managed to capture. I am going to include in this video a little bit of background as to the birth, of course. Obviously last time I spoke to you guys I was pregnant quite early on in pregnancy. She was due on the 2nd of August, but we did end up going 15 days over, so I had to be induced. Unfortunately Dan's mum did pass the day after her due date, so she won't be able to meet her nanny Wendy, but we have added Wendy's name into her name as it only seemed right to do that. So yeah, the end of my pregnancy did drag on a fair bit. From sort of 36 weeks onwards I was just getting a bit impatient because obviously Dan's mum took a turn for the worst, and I was just really hoping that she would pull through long enough to meet her granddaughter, but lo and behold she didn't. We got to my due date and I still didn't have any signs of her arriving. I went to have a couple of sweeps and the midwife said that I was basically no closer to her coming. So it got to my induction day, which was the 14th, because they do it 41 weeks plus 5 days down here. I'm not too sure how it works in other areas, but it sounds like that's the ruling that they have down here. So yeah, I was expected to be induced anyway because I didn't have any indication to having a natural labour. So we went in on the Friday. I had the pessary put in and I was sent home, as I was low risk pregnancy anyway. I was sent home to wait it out basically, and they give you a 24-hour period in between having the pessary put in. It's basically just like a drug that they insert to try and kickstart things, but unfortunately that didn't do anything. I mean, I had slight cramping, but nothing out of the unordinary. So the next day, the Saturday, which was also my birthday, that was the 24-hour period in the afternoon when I went back into the hospital, and that's when I didn't come back out until obviously I had her. So we stayed in the hospital from the Saturday afternoon. We had, I think it was some sort of tablet or gel, a first lot put in after a certain amount of time after the pessary was taken out. So I had to wait around to see what was going to happen with that. And then about 2 in the morning on the Sunday, I woke up and something didn't feel right. And I got up to go to the toilet, and there was a trail of blood on the floor, like where I was walking along to the toilet. And I started panicking, thinking something's really not right here. So there was no midwives around, I couldn't see anyone, I was standing in the corridor panicking. Fortunately there was a lady in the other room, I think she was feeding a baby or something. So I managed to get her attention. I was really, really panicking at this point, thinking I've lost her. So I got put back into my room, and she went to grab a midwife, and they monitored the baby and the heartbeat, etc. And I was left to be monitored for a while, and they kept checking in on us. So I didn't really get much sleep that night, as you can imagine, because I was really, really worried. But as soon as they put me on the monitoring machine and I heard a heartbeat, I was so relieved. So yeah, I was put on that, and then they were constantly monitoring me until about 6 in the morning on the Sunday. So I didn't really get much sleep, so I was already pretty tired. The first tablet or gel, I can't really remember what it was that they used. That didn't do anything again, so I was just sort of sitting around waiting. And then later on that morning I had a second one put in. So again I just sat around waiting, started getting a bit of cramping towards the afternoon, and then I was on the phone to my nan. It was around 4:30, and I started getting constant contractions, and they were getting stronger and stronger, and I was sort of having to pause while on the phone to her and breathing through them. And I had to come off the phone to her in the end. And that's when they started getting really close together, and it was consistently carrying on. The pain was getting worse and worse. I was really trying to have to breathe through them and not panic. I buzzed for someone to come, no one was coming, and then a nurse that I hadn't seen before, she said that everyone was in surgery. So I was panicking, thinking I need help, these contractions are getting unbearable. So I was standing at the window crying because I didn't know, I was just in so much pain. Finally my midwife come in, and she basically said I needed to call Dan at this point to come up. So I called him, I was on the gas and air as well. I called him to come up, and then she broke my waters, and then she ended up taking us into one of the labour rooms, where we carried on from there, and the contractions were so unbearable at this point, and I was shouting, and I mean shouting, for an epidural, but the anaesthetist was in emergency surgery, I believe. So I was shouting out for the epidural, and it just felt like an absolute lifetime. So yeah, we was waiting around for ages, and I was on the gas and air, it was making me feel sick, so I ended up breathing through them in the end because it was just making me feel so ill. So I was breathing through them, and then finally the anaesthetist come in and gave me the epidural. Now that is quite a difficult thing, because you have to be like completely still in order for them to administer you the epidural, because there is a risk of paralysis if you don't sit still, but obviously where you're contracting it's really, really difficult. So I was having to say to her, I'm contracting, I can't have it yet, because obviously where I'm moving I'm going to risk being paralysed. So she managed to do it in the end, and after I had the epidural it wasn't long before it kicked in, and it was so much better after that. I was relieved. So not too long after the epidural they put me on the hormone drip because I still wasn't dilating properly. I was on that for a little while, and then I remember them saying that I was at this point 5 centimetres. So I thought, great, we're finally getting somewhere, we're halfway there. So we just carried on sitting there and waiting. I wasn't allowed to eat or drink anything other than water while I was on the drip, and at this point I hadn't eaten since lunchtime of Sunday, so I was, you know, really hungry and I just wanted some food, but obviously you can't when you're on the hormone drip. So I was just sitting there waiting. I was really, really tired at this point. I just felt so high from this epidural. Dan was sitting on the side as well, and we was both just sort of drifting off. The midwife never left my side. She was always in the room unless she had to quickly pop out to see someone or discuss something. So she was always there by my side, and she kept saying to me, just keep drinking water. Yeah, so we was just sitting there waiting for something to happen, and then all of a sudden, after sort of a couple of hours I think it was, I could feel a lot of pressure, and like I could still feel the contractions but they weren't painful. It was more just a lot of pressure, and like you could feel them but there was no pain, and it got to a point where I just felt like I needed to push. So I had to wait for them to give me the go-ahead for this, and then my time was coming, she was coming, and they said I was finally fully dilated, and I was so relieved because I never thought it was going to happen at this rate, considering this was early hours of the Monday morning, the 17th, and she was due over 2 weeks ago, you know, so I was getting really relieved that she was coming finally. So they told me when to push between the contractions. Yeah, and it wasn't really that long after, and after a few times of pushing constantly, she was here. I was really panicking, thinking, oh, like I was worrying that she was going to get stuck or something. But that relief when she come out and you could hear her crying, it's the most surreal feeling ever. I can't even explain it. You go from having a baby inside your tummy for 9.5 months to then hearing them scream in real life in the room. It's the most strangest feeling. So the nurses were cleaning her up and, you know, weighing her and things, giving her a vitamin K injection on the side, and then a nurse just come out of the blue and just injected me in my leg, and then it was time to deliver the placenta, and honestly it was the strangest feeling. But they did have to cut me and I did have to have stitches, but that didn't bother me, just as long as she was here and out and safe and well. That's all that mattered to me. But that is pretty much my birth story. I will on this video put photos and videos of her from beginning to where we're at now, but I sort of just wanted to talk you through my induction story a bit, and it was quite a traumatic experience being induced. I didn't really enjoy that. I would rather have gone into natural labour, but you know, I went overdue. There was nothing that I could do about it. I'm grateful that I didn't have to have a C-section though, because I really had a feeling I was going to have to, because a lot of my family have had C-sections, so I just assumed that I'd be having to be rushed down to surgery, but I had her naturally, and I was really, really proud of myself for being able to do that. And she come out perfect, honestly. I'm just so relieved that everything went well in the end, because it was such a traumatic experience. So yeah, that's pretty much an update of where we're at the moment, but yeah, I will include the photos and videos after this clip, and hopefully see you soon when this lockdown malark ever finishes. But yeah, enjoy.